Today, I would like to discuss more your personal struggles.
Yes, it'll be nice not to talk technical for a while.
Can you share us some stories from your college? Have you had a lot of girlfriends?
Oh boy, trying to get me in trouble. Sorry, honey, if you're watching this. Across the way, I noticed this blonde girl.
Oh my god, it's a triangle. How ServiceNow discovered you?
Knowledge 10. There were about 500 attendees at Knowledge 10. It was a different time back then. ServiceNow was only, about 4 years old at that time. I was let go from my company after 22 years. I don't know why. I don't care. I'm not dwelling on the past. But whatever happened, it could have been political, could have been financial. I don't know.
I'm right in saying that ServiceNow discovered you. Hello everyone, I'm Irfan from Sotiotech. Sotiotech is pure play ServiceNow consulting and implementation partner. I have a legend today on my podcast and I'm really very excited to have him on my show. He is none other than Chuck Tomasi. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Chuck Tomasi.
Thank you very much, Irfan. It's great to be here.
I really appreciate that you have joined and you have taken out time for me today. I really appreciate that.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. So today I would like to kind of more focus and discuss more towards your personal struggles to understand and to let everyone understand that what has been your journey so far. How did you become a legend like this? This is the theme of our conversation today because people have seen you enough talking about technical things. I thought that we should discuss more on the personal stuff, kind of knowing you better as a person or a character, who exactly Chuck Tomasi is.
Sure.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yes, it'll be nice not to talk technical for a while. But it, I was young in the late 60s, early 70s. Uh, as a child, I grew up in a family of 9. I am number 6. So I have 5 sisters and 3 brothers. Very busy household. My parents, uh, happily married for 67, 68 years. They instilled some good family values on us. I would say from my father, I got things like how to interact with people, make people feel warm, welcome, just the putting yourself out there, stick out your hand and shake hands, say hello, greet people, meet people. That makes their life richer. That makes your life richer. And I also got a lot of the work ethic from him too. Don't show up on time, show up early, all of that kind of good stuff. We had a number of family businesses that we grew up with, and sometimes it was a little upsetting. As a 14-year-old, you want to go out and be with your friends, but you have to work at the store or on the boat, or we won't go through my whole career history, but there were a number of stories in there. And at the time, you're not really thinking, I have to count boxes in the basement to see how many snorkels we sold. But the value of that is I learned small business. I learned customer service. I learned a lot of things as a very young person that paid dividends later on in life. From my mother, and I really didn't think too much about this until she recently passed. So forgive me if I get emotional. I will try not to. We had this discussion earlier. I know I said, you're trying to make me cry on this when we review the questions. But she passed away in May, like the Friday before Knowledge. Thankfully, I was already retired, so I didn't have to deal with personal and professional things at the same time. But she was into theater for a good portion when she was younger. I think it was just before I was born. She spent a number of years in theater. So I learned how to present, how to project, how to perform. And she was also into music. She has a music degree. She taught music. She introduced me to the piano when I was very small. We had a baby grand piano in our house. We lived in a big Victorian home built in the late 1800s. And Somebody was always playing that piano to one degree or the other. And although I didn't stick with music, obviously, it came back later in life to greet me again. And many of the lessons that I learned as a child came back when I started playing recently on an ukulele. So it's there's a number of things that I credit my parents for.
Your parents had a great influence in you. Obviously, they shape up our lives. I can understand the influence our parents would have on our life, and that is what makes the core of our character. And talking about influence, I see that you grew up later on. You built your career, perhaps after school. You went to college, obviously, not perhaps, but when you went to college, can you share us some stories from your college?
Sure. Uh, as I was going through my earlier school years, I think it was 11th or 12th grade. We have 12 grades in primary school, and then college would be after that. So somewhere around my junior year, the 11th year in school, I enrolled in a computer course. It was beginning computing.
What was it back then? Computing means, is it DOS? Because I remember from my childhood,
Yeah.
in my school, there was a huge computer. DOS used to run on that. But obviously, we are from different.
It was slightly earlier than that, so this would have been the early 80s. Uh, DOS, yeah, you could say came out because I think the IBM PC came out in August of 1981. But we had a couple of brand new Apple IIe's. No, they were two pluses. Sorry, and uh, there were two or three of them for the entire school of hundreds of children. Now, not everybody was in the computer curriculum, so we learned basic programming. Line 10, print this. Line 20, go to 10, that kind of thing. And I found that fascinating to be able to take this inanimate object and an idea and create something that had never been created. Now, obviously, like any other skill, I had to learn the fundamentals first. And fundamentals usually come from imitation or duplication. Whether it's computers or martial arts or music, you have to learn the mechanics first, the basics. So I would stay after school. We lived about 2 miles, what is that, about 3.2 kilometers? I'm doing the math in my head, so forgive me, uh, away from home. And normally there would be a bus. I would forego the bus ride home in the winter, in the snow. I really wanted to understand as much as I could about this. So I would open the book, printed book, no PDFs or anything at that time, and type in the programs that were in the book and see what happens. And then start modifying. Do that, a little bit of that artistry, a little of that creativity. What happens if I change this number from 10 to 20? Does it blow up? Or does it make a different noise? Or what happens? So the curiosity has always been there. And I also started reaching out to some friends. One of them had one of these Apple IIs at home, so I considered him an expert. And we would have conversations. What did you learn? What building a community? You can see the kernels, the seeds of some of this stuff. When you look back on your life, you may see similar patterns. The teaching thing, I can trace back to being about 10 years old. We were in class. I'm diverting from the storyline here, of course, but
No, no, I'm interested to know because what I can understand from that is you're building a community. You are kind of a person who would want to build communities, socialize. Like you mentioned that your parents taught you how to shake hands, socialize with people,
right.
and that is what is kind of amplifying now. It's kind of growing, evolving, and that is what I think we can connect back and think that your parents taught you something, and that became a trigger point to make a community, and we can see that in your college days.
Thank you for bringing me back to college. I was just gonna... So college, I actually started college a semester early. I was still finishing high school, and my father, who worked at the university, suggested maybe I should take an intro course. The there was a data processing course, they called it. It wasn't even in the computer science curriculum. They had this more business aspect to it, and I found it completely boring. I did not like data processing. I thought, ooh, what am I making the right decision? But I had taken in high school the advanced computer course, which was in Fortran on the mainframe. So we had to go to the university to enter our programs there. So I was doing both the no, I'm off by a year. But the data processing course gave me an introduction to what college life and study was like, far different than high school, as I came to learn. When I officially enrolled in college, I didn't do very good in the data processing course, by the way. I don't think my heart was in it, which
I
often
don't
happens.
believe that.
And we've had this discussion as well. If you want people to succeed, let them work on what they're interested in, and they'll work on it voluntarily, comparing staying after school to typing in programs to quasi being forced to take data processing. But through college, I worked with my advisor and I said, here's what I'm interested in. And he said, you might be interested in computer science. I didn't even like that word. It just sounded very rigid and stiff, and I wanted more of the creativity. But in doing so, I built my basic skills with Pascal programming and assembly programming and different languages, different skill sets, learning data structures and those kind of things. The downfall was the computer science was part of the math department, and you had to take those mathematics courses. I think it was 8 computer and 6 math, and you got to choose from some of them, but some were required. I think that was more or less to wash out the people who were serious about being computer people. So I would get A's in all of my computer courses, and I would get C's in just enough to get by in most of the math courses. Calculus 1, Calculus 2, Calculus 3. Oh, and by the way, I failed Calculus 1 first time around. I had to retake it. So, no, I'm not when people say, "Wow, you're pretty smart," they're like, no, I fail at a lot of things too. But I've learned from those experiences. I've never used abstract algebra or linear geometry ever again, but it was a requirement to get through that, mud hole, if you will, to get to the other side. And when I came out, just before graduation, I had met a beautiful woman, which we'll get into later. My brother, who was 4 years older, worked for an electronics company. He'd been there for about 4 years. He said, we're looking for a software developer for this pay telephone software thing. And that's how I got started. So college was both an academic experience and a social experience, but there was also the practical experience. While I was in college, I was asked to work for a gentleman who owned a roller rink. Remember roller skating when that was a thing? I had been going to the roller skating through some friends, and again, through the relationships, through the contacts, they knew who I was and said, we've got a special project. Some of our employees are going to be doing this thing. Uh, that's a long story that I won't get into. But through a series of events, I ended up working there for about 3.5 years. They got done with this project and started a computer store, a local retail dealership, and said, you're a computer guy. How would you like to work as a service technician? Go fix computers, replacing power supplies and floppy disk drives. That was more in the PC, the early PC era. I can't tell you how many compact portable 2 power supplies that I replaced, but it was a lot. They were prone to failure. And during the slower times when there wasn't a whole lot of technical work to do, my colleague, friend, Scott, he started, when we started, they couldn't even pay us. They weren't making enough revenue from sales. So they gave us some of the equipment they couldn't sell. One of them was this little, almost like a large tablet size thing that had a 300 baud modem built in. So Scott and I would get on the phone lines at night and we'd be typing at each other. Why we weren't talking, I don't know. It seems kind of
I'm
backward.
interested to know.
It's like, why do people text? And we discovered there was a local dial-up bulletin board in the area. And then the light bulb in both of our heads went off. We should build our own bulletin board. If you want to think of, Reddit in the Stone Age, that's pretty much what it was. People would dial up, leave messages, chat, that kind of thing. And we started that, and that was a great introduction to practical software engineering, practical community building. A bulletin board is a community. Again, you could see where these little stepping stones are along Chuck's path to some of these things.
Dots are connecting backwards.
The dots are kind of, yeah. When you look back, you can see, oh yeah, that's where that came from, or that's where that dead end led to. But everything was kind of a learning experience, and worked there for about 3 years, and then got my professional career started through my brother, who needed a software developer in modem telecommunications. So the bulletin board, you kind of see where this doing a job before I actually had the position to do it. And software developer led to.
Yeah, it sounds you experienced many things. Even when you were in college, you tried out many things. You learned many things. This shows in your character that you are always willing to learn something new, try out something new, and it's one of the character wherein, if I can say, that you're a very adventurous person, or you love adventure as well.
Never stop learning would be my, if you want a hashtag on that, is always stay curious, never stop learning, whether it is in your primary interest, which for me is often technical, or a secondary interest, musical, art, woodworking, whatever you want to pursue, try it out. You never know where it may lead, because that may be your next opportunity. And if you're doing it because you enjoy it, imagine what happens when somebody says, how would you like to do that for a living?
Yeah, I can understand that. But going back in the college days, obviously people find more they make friendship, and they would find they get attracted at that age. That there is always a factor of getting attracted to someone. So how did you have you had a lot of girlfriends in your
Oh boy.
college?
Trying to get me in trouble. Sorry, honey, if you're watching this. I will be honest, I was seeking opportunities. When I would get into a new class, the radar was always on. Like, she's cute. She's pretty smart. And in August of '86, I had, what was the course? It wasn't compilers. I forgot what the course name was, even what the course ID was, but I do remember the instructor, who was also one of my calculus instructors. And I sat near the back. I had a previous friend who was in the course, Raul, and across the way, I noticed this blonde girl. Fairly attractive, fairly quiet. She was often reading a book. As things progressed, I pursued. We had a few conversations, and she had a not a mutual friend, but she also had a friend. So her name was Donna, her friend's name was Gretchen, and we would often go to lunch. Sometimes the three of us, sometimes just the two of us. And they were confused as to who I was actually interested in.
It's a triangle.
Well, I wouldn't say wasn't so much a triangle, but it was like a stool with only two legs. And, after we sorted that out, it became more of, the next semester came up, and I had 3 courses with Donna. Numerical analysis, what was CS 330, right? IE 330. We had a computer course, and then we had a math course, and we had another computer course or something. There were 3 courses that lined up. And we had been going to lunch for a while. We're now into early 1987. I'm feeling older as I tell this story. I remember 5 dates important that every man should always remember. The date we met, the date we first kissed, the date we were engaged, the date we were married, and her birthday. Okay, I know all 5 of those off the top of my head. So anyway, back to 87. She had some concert tickets. You're familiar with the Beatles, the band, right?
Yeah, obviously.
There was a tribute band. So these people that dressed up and played the Beatles songs sounded like them, more or less looked like them, called 1964's The Beatles, and they were coming to our city, to our university, and she had tickets. I wasn't the first choice. Gretchen was.
Who bought the tickets?
Donna had them. I don't know how she came by them. I never found that out. Maybe Gretchen gave them to her, but she asked me, and she called me up while I was working at the computer store, and I knew who it was because there were 3 incoming lines, and the phone would light up, and if she called the first line, if somebody was on the first line, it was roll over to the second line, and the second line would roll over to the third, and if the third was busy, good heavens, we've got 3 callers at the same time. It was crazy. It was a small business. But I only gave her the middle number.
Oh.
So if that middle light lighted up, I knew who it was.
Oh my God, you're smart.
I do all kinds of little Easter eggs like that through my life.
It's easy to identify as well, not to get confused. Middle one.
Know the system. Know the system. And she had called up and asked if I wanted to go to a concert. And Scott, my bulletin board friend, also worked at the roller rink. We later worked at our professional career, and I still keep in contact with him. Lifelong friends, best thing. Anyway, she called up and said, would you like to go to a concert? And Scott will verify this. I fell on the floor in shock. A girl asked me on a date.
Oh my God.
So there's your answer to, did you have many girlfriends? The answer is clearly no. And we had gone on a date. We went to the concert. After the concert, we had our first kiss. We dated for about 9 months, got engaged in late 87, got married in October 88. Been there ever since. We like to introduce each other as, this is my ex-girlfriend. And when she introduces me, I'm her first husband. Some people are like, how many more are there? Like, just one.
That is wonderful. Absolutely. So you married your girlfriend.
And she had similar interests because she was in the same course. Now, we worked at the same company for about 20 years. I started first doing the software development and then moving into various IT roles. She was also in IT, but we had differing paths, whereas I worked with engineers, with engineering applications and Unix systems. She was more on the AS400 side, managing business systems. So she knew more about chart of accounts and ledgers and stuff that goes whoosh. And I'm writing APIs and interfaces and IP protocols.
I think she's perfect for you because maybe at home she manages all the finances.
Yes, she does. I bring home the money. She finds out how to invest it so we can retire.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah. I'm kind of overwhelmed, It's very wonderful. Yeah, after getting married. How is your married life, How has it been so far? Because, people who get married to the same girlfriend or the first girlfriend, they end up fighting more because, because they know each other so much and because of the love that they have, the bond of love. That makes them more aggressive towards each other, or maybe it can be perceived as aggressive.
Yeah, there's an old adage that says familiarity breeds contempt, and it's easy to fall into that. A lot of the newness of marital bliss wears off, and you discover this person likes their butter cold, and this person likes the butter warm, and I can't butter toast when the butter is cold, so they put it. There's all sorts of little things in life that will drive you crazy. My advice is don't let it. In fact, we're going through kind of a volunteer marital Bible study thing, and it's pointing out a lot of those things. It's just what's the bigger, what's more important, the butter in the refrigerator, or your love for this person, your admiration. So if you keep these things in perspective, it helps. Has it always been easy? No. Marriage never is. Raising a family never is. There's always road bumps. Keeping your head is not easy when you've got your opinion and they've got a differing opinion, and sometimes you come to loggerheads. Things will happen, but I will definitely say that I love her more today than I ever have in the past, and she's always been there. I had a bout with cancer in 2018. It's been taken care of, everything's fine, but she was there 100%. You know, every time I go to the doctor and need something done and they say, "Oh, we have to put you to sleep," she's there when I wake up. And she's there when I wake up in the morning. So she's always been there for me, and I can't say enough good things. Are there challenges? Yes. Two people in the same house are going to, occasionally disagree.
Yeah, that's wonderful to know. I think that you have there is so much to learn from you. And right now you are former senior developer advocate. It's part of your identity, and it would be very tough to remove that identity from the character. But at the same time, there would be some of the technical stuff that would obviously come into our conversation. But let us focus more on discussing that how ServiceNow discovered you. This is something that intrigues me. Kind of, I'm thinking in my mind that not you are discovering ServiceNow. I would like to say that how did ServiceNow discover you?
That's a great question. And I don't know that I have an absolute answer of how they discovered me, but I made sure to put myself in front of them. So, as many people probably know, that I was a customer first. In 2008, we were repatriating the help desk. I was with that company for about 20 years at the time, and they had an opportunity to bring the outsourced help desk internally. To compound that problem, there were multiple ticketing systems in the organization over the last previous 10 years or so. There were some mergers and acquisitions, and everybody had their own technology stack from, company A and company B, and they all got merged up into the mothership, and nothing worked together. Oh yeah, we're not talking technical on this, are we? Like you said, it's part of who I am, so it might come out. So there was an opportunity there. And I said, yes, I would like to help rebuild the help desk. And things lined up. I was put in charge of that. Long story short, uh, we ended up selecting ServiceNow as the platform of choice to manage the ITSM. It was a different time back then. ServiceNow was only, about 4 years old at that time. And like many 4-year-olds, there's still a lot of learning and growth to be done. And I was a customer for about 2 years. And over that 2 years, we did an ITSM implementation. In that storyline, one of my help desk uh, agents said, could ServiceNow be used to help track our loaner laptops? We were, people needed a laptop temporarily to travel or do a weekend project, whatever it was. And I turned around and asked my sales agent, and I said, Kelly, can we make this happen? And he said, yeah, I think we can. So they put together a quick prototype, and I said, that's perfect. And I didn't know at the time, it sounds silly now, I didn't know at the time that ServiceNow was a platform. You can build things on it. So I thought I was hacking the system in some way. It was like, we're getting this secret, that it wasn't meant to do this. Oh, it was very much meant to do that. And we managed those laptops, and I built out the rest of the application with notifications and workflows and whatnot. And went to Knowledge 10. There were about 500 attendees at Knowledge 10. Give you a perspective of how the company has grown since then. And they had a contest for an app of the year. They called it the Innovation of the Year Award. They wanted to see what customers were doing, what they were building. So I submitted this loaner app, and it won first prize.
Oh my God.
So I would probably say they discovered me through that process of not only just being a customer, but putting myself into that position, winning that competition, because 10 short days after receiving that award, I was let go from my company after 22 years. I don't know why. I don't care. I'm not dwelling on the past. But whatever happened, it could have been political, could have been financial. I don't know. But I already knew that I had contacts not only in my local area, but also at other organizations, including ServiceNow. Because when I attended Knowledge 10, I was shaking hands and making introductions and smiling and doing good networking things, not with the specific desire to look for a job, because I wasn't out of a job at the point. But it sure came in handy shortly after when I got the notice and I had to cancel some appointments with people I had met at the conference, and they within an hour of being fired, I had a job lead.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It works. You know, networking works. That's all I can say. Smile, put your best foot forward, get to know people, meet people in those situations. So that's probably how they discovered me. Was I won that contest, and then when I did apply, I don't even remember if there was a job rec open at the time. I just threw my resume in there, and we'll probably come back to this at some point. But that started me on my journey in ServiceNow in 2010 as a technical consultant, which led to solution consultant, which led to developer advocacy around 2017. So the last 7 years is really when the machine was on. But I've always been doing a job or role. I've always been doing work related to that position before I got that position. I wasn't doing it intentionally. For example, we started doing the Tech Now videos in 2013. I was still a technical consultant at that point. That's 2, 3 positions short of advocacy, but I was doing it because I enjoyed it and ServiceNow thought it was valuable. The audience thought it was valuable. I was sharing that technical information online, originally through blogs, then videos, and TechNow is still going today, even after I'm gone.
Yeah, we have Knowledge 2026 coming up in May, and I'm excited for that as well. But I'm right in saying that in fact, ServiceNow discovered you, and I have a feeling that right from the beginning, when ServiceNow started, when they are having such a competition wherein you submitted your loaner laptop idea from your previous company, and they kind of perhaps they might have noticed you, and therefore I think I'm right in saying that they discovered you. In fact, this is my opinion. So it must have been a long years. I'm just kind of interested to know that how many years have you had your career before service now?
So the latest technology at that time was fire, then the wheel. So I was blogging about the wheel. Not quite that far back. But I worked for the previous company for 22 years in various roles. I started out as a software developer because that's what I went to school for. I have a computer science degree and started out as a software developer creating old PC software on DOS. it was it was pretty brutal back then. But it applied to my interests. I always had an interest in system to system communications. I was writing PC software that communicated with pay telephones. Remember pay telephones when they were a thing? Yeah. Well, this software would interact with them and collect credit card records and status information, new diagnostics, etc., and reporting. And it was a great project. Did that for about 18 months and moved into a Unix system administrator position, which led to project management, which a few years later led to the help desk manager position. So it was usually a technical career until about 2005. So I'd been there about 17, 18 years, and a management opportunity opened up. So made the transition. I was in management for a while. But again, long story short, my message to the viewers and listeners would be you don't necessarily have to climb the management ladder and become manager, director, VP, etc., to be considered successful. Do what you love to do. I've been an individual contributor pretty much my entire career at ServiceNow and was never happier. You can be a leader without having to aspire to be a manager.